Good morning, students. This topic is going to be on sampling design. We are doing the research subject. So, sampling is a very important topic in research, and some of the common questions that you may be asked are what steps in sampling design, or importance of sampling, and types of sampling. And in types of sampling, there are so many different types, and each type of sampling may be asked by name, and you may be asked it in 3 marks or 5 marks. So let us see what is sampling. Sampling is part of the total population. For example, if we take all the medical sociology students in Karigiri, then that is the total population. How many medical sociology students are there in Karigiri? First year there are 15, second year there are about 10, third year there are about 10, and interns there are about 10. I am just giving examples. So 15 plus 30, that is 45 students. So in a research study, if we have only 45, it's easy to study because we can study all 45 people in detail. But if we are taking the medical sociology students in the whole world, then it is very difficult for us to do research on everybody. There may be hundreds or even thousands of people. So what we do is, from the total population, we take a sample. A simple way of explaining this is, when you cook rice, how do you check whether the rice is cooked or not? You just take one rice and taste it. So தமிழில் கரெக்டாக what is the definition is, ஒரு பானைக்கு ஒரு சோறு பதம். That means one rice if you eat, that is a sample of the total rice. So if that is cooked, then you can say all the rice is cooked. Okay, in for the rice it's okay, one rice is cooked, then it is a sample for the whole population, all the rice that is inside the vessel. But in real life, if you have bread being produced in a factory, for example, if a factory is producing bread, each day they are using different ingredients, different this thing mix. First day they may mix one amount, next day they mix again. It's not once they mix and the bread is going on coming. So each day what they add to the ingredients, they have to check. That is quality check. So they take one bread and check if it is correct. Same way, if we want to study coronavirus population, we cannot study all the people who are affected by coronavirus. In Tamil Nadu itself, we have 50,000 people. So you cannot study all 50,000 people. So you take samples out of the total 50,000. So for example, you take 10 people in Chennai, 10 people in Vellore, 10 people in Madurai. So that is a sample of the total population. And also in this group, you have to take age-wise, sex-wise, so that every group is represented in the total population. If you are studying coronavirus in male population, then you can take only males. But even then you have to take young people, old people, middle-aged people. Or if you are studying coronavirus in old population, old males, then above the age of 60, you can take only the males. So the sample size depends on your research study and the type of research that you are doing, and also based on the total number of population. So sample is a subset of the population. It should represent the whole population. Okay, why we take a sample is, it will help us to reduce the cost, it will help us to save time, and it is also convenient. So these are the 3 reasons why we do sampling. Okay, usually the size of a sample is represented by the word n. Like in maths, you would have studied different words, like x is used, a square plus b square is used. Like that, for sample size we use the word n, or alphabet n. So we know what is sample and why we take samples. What is sampling? Sampling is the act or process or technique of selecting a representative part of the population. Okay, so a sample represents the whole population, and there are different techniques, there are different methods or types of sampling. and those are sampling techniques which we will see later in this chapter. Okay, so there are several steps in the sampling design. There are, we can say, 7 steps. Some people say 5 steps. They merge 1 or 2 of these steps. Okay, the first step is defining the target population. So we have to define the target population. What is defining the target population and what is the target population, we'll see later. Then we have to specify the sampling frame, specify the sampling unit, selection of sampling method, determination of sample size, specifying sampling plan, and selecting the sample finally. So these are the steps in sampling design. First is defining the target population. Okay, in a hospital research or a business research, everybody does research. For example, if you want a shop, if you have a shop and you want to find which product is moving fast in your shop, then you will see which product is getting sold repeatedly, so you will note it down. So similarly, in a hospital, you can do research in leprosy patients, you can do research in diabetic patients, you can do research in cancer patients. But when you do research in cancer patients are the target population. Okay, but the number of cancer patients may be in thousands or even millions, so the target population is very huge. So instead you can say your target population is women with breast cancer. So the number will become, from millions it will become thousands. So that is defining the target population. The group in which you are going to do the study, that is the target population. If you have a huge target population, then it is very difficult to take a sample. For example, if you do research in cancer, then you have to take samples from breast cancer, cervical cancer, then lung cancer, brain cancer, bone cancer. So all these groups you have to take samples. Whereas if you do your study, limit your study to only those with breast cancer, then you can take women with breast cancer are part of the study. That will be the target population. So you have to restrict the target population if your population size is very big, because then your sampling will also become very big. So that is why the target population should be defined by you before the study starts. So another example is the coronavirus. If you do a study in coronavirus, there are millions of people all over the world. Even if you take coronavirus in Tamil Nadu, there are more than 50,000 people. So how will you do research? So you have to define your target population. You can say, I am doing study in only those above 60 who are affected by coronavirus. Then the number of target population reduces. It's easy for your study. Then you have to specify the sampling frame. So sampling frame means from where you will get the population. Okay, so what are the records? Where are the records? For example, coronavirus patients and cancer patients, all hospital based study, you can take data from the hospital records, the medical records. For example, if you go to Adukampare, you will have the list of all the patients affected by coronavirus. Same way CMC will have a list of people affected by coronavirus. So you go to both the hospitals and using their register, you can take the population. So that is the sampling frame, the place from which you get the details of the population. For example, in hospitals it's easy because we have medical records. If you are doing a research on those who are having a Sony television, then you have to go to the Sony showroom and find out who all have got Sony television. But that is not limited. See, people buy Sony television even online, from Amazon, from Flipkart. Then other than the Sony showroom, you have to go and get the sampling frame from the online Amazon and Flipkart also. I'm just giving examples for you to understand sampling frame. In hospital it's easy because all the records are available in the medical records. So you can, that is the sampling frame. Next is the specifying the unit. For example, each sample is there in a unit. If you are taking coronavirus patients, then each family has coronavirus patients. And if you are limiting your study to coronavirus patients above the age of 60, Then once you get the sample from the sampling frame, you visit each of the houses. So some houses there may be only one person with coronavirus, some houses there may be more than one person. Like suppose husband and wife are there above 60, both of them if they are affected, then that is the sampling unit. Then the next method is you have to select the sampling method. So the methods we will see later, because there are different methods. One is cluster method, convenience sampling. The two major types, probability and non-probability sampling, under which the different sampling methods come, which we will see in detail. So this is the next step in the sampling process. Then the determination of sample size. This also we will see later. There is a process in which you will find out which is the correct sample size. Okay, for example, if you are studying coronavirus patients above the age of 60, there may be thousands of people. So is it enough if you do research in one person, or do you need 100 persons, or do you need to do research in 300 people? Which will be the correct representation of the full population? Okay, so that is the determination of sample size. Then the sampling plan has to be specified. How you are going to do research sampling, whether you are going to do door-to-door survey, or whether you are going to do an interview method, and which person you will interview, whether every 5th person you will interview or every 10th person you will interview. So that is the sampling plan. And finally, once all these steps are finished, the sampling process, you will select the samples. The actual selection of samples will be done in the last step. So these are the 7 steps in the sampling process. I'll just give a brief overview again. Why do we do sampling? So that you get a research done in a small number of people, which is representative of the larger population. For example, if there are 15 students in a class, we are seeing if they are all healthy by checking their hemoglobin levels. Then we can check the hemoglobin level for all 15 people. So here sampling is not needed, because the total population is itself only 15. But if there are 15,000 students in the whole of Vellore, and you are going to check if they are all having good hemoglobin level, then you cannot say just in Karigiri I will check all the students, and if they all have hemoglobin good, then whole of Vellore students have good hemoglobin. You cannot tell that, because it is Karigiri students are not representing the whole population of people in this whole city. So you have to take 5 people from Karigiri, 5 people from CMC, 5 people from Narayani, 5 people from Sandhya Hospital, and then mix everybody together, and then you have to check their blood hemoglobin level. So that will be a true representation of the students who study in Health Sciences College in Vellore. So that is how you have to do sampling. So we are trying to represent the whole population by doing the sampling, and these are the steps in the sampling process. First you define the target population, then you specify the sampling frame, specify the sampling unit, then you decide which method you are going to use for the sample selection, then you determine how many samples you are going to select, that is the sample size, then you make a plan for the sampling, and finally you select the samples. So these are the steps in sampling design. So the next topic is characteristics of good sampling design. So what are the characteristics of a good sampling design? So we already know sample should be representative of the total population. So that is why the first important point of characteristic of good sampling design is the representativeness. So whenever you take one sample or 100 samples, it should represent the whole population. When we say oru paana sorukku oru sor padam, that means one rice if you eat, it is representative of the all the rice cooked in that day. Okay, you cannot eat one rice today and say it is the sample of rice cooked in the last 10 days. No, in that day's cooking in that vessel, one rice is a sample of the whole thing. If you are going to take samples of each day, then each day you have to taste, then only it will represent the whole population. Okay, so that is why the sampling type is very important, because the technique or the method of sampling decides whether the sample represents the whole population. If you choose a wrong method of sampling, then it will not represent the full population. It can be biased, it cannot be valid, or it need not be accurate. So if you do an accurate research which is valid, then your sampling method should be very good. You understand again, if your research has to be good, if it has to be valid, and if it is accurate, then your sampling method is very important. Your sampling method that you choose should make sure that the samples are representing the whole population. Okay, so the next reason for good sampling design is the accuracy. So if you do a good sampling, then it will be the research will be accurate without any bias. I told you in the example where I gave of checking the hemoglobin to see the health status of children. If you do the research only in Karigiri and say all students in Vellore are healthy, then your statement and your research is not accurate. You are biased. You are saying you are checking only Karigiri students' blood. Then that means you are biased towards Karigiri. So in research you should be unbiased. Unbiased means you should neither lean on that side or lean on this side. So you should have a there should be no influence. Okay, so good sampling design will be accurate. And finally, a good sample must have good sample size and be reliable. Okay, so if you do not have a good sample size, then your research is not reliable. So for example, I told you, for rice that is cooked in a vessel, only one rice is enough as a sample. But if we are studying the hemoglobin level of all students in Vellore, then we have to have at least 5,000 people. There is a method of calculation of sample size which we will study how to calculate, but generally we at least 5,000 people, because Vellore will have at least 50,000 students. So you are studying only 1/10 of the population. So you have to take 5,000 people, and that 5,000 people you have to take from each college, and not only from the town area but also village area. So then only it will be a good sample size and it will represent the whole population. So these are characteristics of a good sampling design. One is representativeness, next is accuracy, the third is the sample size. So if these are there, then the research will be valid and also reliable. Why do we say research should be valid and reliable? If we do a research, it should be applicable for the whole population. Even if you do a research in a small sample, if you do in a small sample, it should represent the situation in the whole target population. Then it will, this can happen only when your research is not biased, if it has a good sample size, and if it is accurate. Then we can say your research is valid and reliable. Okay, I hope you understood this. We'll see you in the next class on sampling types.